Hi, welcome back to part 3. Last time we unboxed all the electronics components and put some of them away, talked about some of what they did. Today I want to try to get some of the stuff to blink at me. Maybe not these light panels, we'll see how far that goes, but I at least want to get the Teensy running its default program to blink at you and hopefully at least program something onto it so I know that the programming software that I have on my laptop for it works. And I'm probably going to have to solder some of this stuff to make some of this happen. So let's just go dive right in. So first order of business is to get the Teensy back out. So I imagine this has a program on it already to just blink its LED. There's an LED on here somewhere. Oh, there. Is that it? Yeah, that's it up by the USB port. So the first order of business is I'm just going to plug it into a USB power supply with doing nothing else and seeing what happens. And this bench power supply I have has a USB port on it for like charging your phone, but I'm just going to use it for this for right now. So hey, look at that. There's an LED and it's blinking. You can see, yeah, so there's the LED, it's blinking, so we know that Teensy is in fact working. Awesome. I'm just going to set the Teensy to the side for right now. I want to get this other little microcontroller that I got for free out and just see what it does by default. It probably does something very similar. So also going to do the same thing, plug in a micro USB cable, plug that into power. Ooh, it actually has a nice little fancy thing that it does with all of its little LEDs that it has. There's a light blinking, and then all of these RGB LEDs are doing well, each LED is showing us the same color, but it is proving that they are doing stuff, and they are in fact working. Do these buttons do anything? It beeps. Neat. I didn't know this thing could beep. That's actually kind of cool. So yeah, this might be a cool little add-on to just do stuff with. Oh, it has a switch. Does the switch do anything? It doesn't look like the switch did anything. And I'm not sure what that external connector is for. It looks like it's just marked for plus and minus, so it's probably just power on that external connector. But hey, cool. This thing works. I'll probably use it for something at some point, but I don't need it right now. That'll probably be just an upgrade thing that I do eventually. Let's put it away, because I don't need it. So let's stop and think a minute before we move on about what we want to do with the Teensy right away. Probably not a terrible idea to put pin headers on all of these pins that it has. How do I want to do these pin headers? If I put pin headers on the bottom of the board, like so, then I can plug it into the breadboard, and that'd be pretty easy. If I put them on the top of the board like that, then it makes it easier to put stuff on it when it's free floating. I think it probably makes more sense to put them on the bottom for the prototyping phase. If I get to a point where I'm ready to make something more permanent, I can always get another Teensy to design more easily, perhaps. But for now, I think I want the pin headers on the bottom, at least for the main headers. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, missed one, but that's okay-ish. I just need to be very careful about, yeah, I just need to break one off of here. There we go. So that is the correct number of pin headers to have. My camera just doesn't want to focus. Correct number of pin headers to have on the Teensy. So now all I need to do is take another set of pin headers and break it. Ah, that one broke too short. One too short. Well, that's fine. I have a single spare extra from here that I can try to solder in, and on one of these the end is 5 volts, which I'm not going to be using because it's going to be USB powered. At least not using yet, so I don't need to solder something on there. So that's fine for now. But basically I need to do that soldering before much of anything else. I could try to program it, but I think I want to go ahead and solder first. So let me do some musical move shit around. And also, before I get started on that, bring my laptop in so I can look some stuff up. But I have the teensy. It's going to need pin headers like that, so I can put them on a breadboard. Does not tell me what temperature to use. I'm just going to go based off of looking at other stuff and go, we'll say about 230 degrees Celsius. You know what, I need to get these LED boards out of here before they accidentally get broken. I probably need to use the third hand to hold some of this stuff together, at least to get started. So I need to hold the teensy board itself. I need to hold the pin strip like that. I'm going to need to use a finger or something to like finalize that positioning, but it should be good enough for now. At the very least I need to get one pin on either end soldered in to hold it all in place. Will it tin? Either it's not up the temperature yet, or that temperature is not high enough for this solder, and I don't know which the case is. It's definitely warm, it's smoking a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and use a higher temperature. Did I misread the temperature? Because that number seems honestly kind of low. Okay, yeah, this other thing is saying like 100 degrees warmer. So let's just give that a go. Let's just go with this and see what happens. There we go, the solder is disappearing quite quickly now while getting tinned. Yeah, this is lead-free solder, but I still don't want to be breathing that if I can help it. Okay, so it has been a while since I've soldered anything. I almost want to get one of my scrap boards out before I try to do anything on this important board. You know what they say about yellowing. I think I'll do the top pin because that's a little bit easier right now. Okay, so now I need to get the board held up like that. God, I need like a fourth hand. I don't know if that worked. That'll probably hold it in place, but that definitely needs reworked. But hey, now I can kind of get in there with my magnifying glass, and the pins should be held where they need to be now. So hopefully all I have to do now is like heat up this pin. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the cameras while I do this because this is pretty boring. But I'll be back here hopefully before too much longer. Okay, I'm done with the first half of the headers being soldered. They ain't pretty, but I think it should work. But yeah, time to do the other half. I'm just waiting a moment for the board to cool down from the soldering iron. I finished soldering these pin headers on. One of them gave me a little bit of trouble and like kind of wanted to get out of the plastic and was sticking down a bit, but I was able to fix that, and I think they're kind of not on there straight now that I look at it edge on. They're like kind of parallelogramming for some reason. Probably the way I was trying to do it, but you know what? For not having soldered anything in a while, I'll take it. It's certainly not the greatest solder job in the world, but it'll do for now. I'll probably need to get another teensy at some point anyway. I'll probably make another order in a month or two just to have another one for the final finished product. I don't think I'm going to want soldered pin headers on everything. But for now, it works. What I'm going to do now is check the continuity between all the different ground pins, so at least make sure those are soldered well. And I'm going to do it on the pins themselves. So one of those is a ground, and that's a ground, and that's a ground. Now what I'm going to do is make sure that I don't have any pairs of adjacent pins that are shorted together. No. Yeah. Doing this is difficult because of getting the probes in there. Actually, doing that should help. Oh. Those should not be shorted together. I'll look at that in a minute. It's the last two pins on the side that I didn't put the 5V one in, right? Well, now they're not shorting. I'll have to look at those closely here in a minute. Alright, let's take a closer look at those ones that claim to short together. They don't look at all shorted, so maybe I was just doing something dumb with the probes. And I must have been doing something dumb with the probes because now they're not shorting together. They certainly don't look at all shorted together under the microscope. They're not the greatest solder joints in the world. Something tribute. So next order of business is let's make sure we didn't kill it and just simply plug it back into power like we were before to make sure it is still working. And hooray, it is still blinking at us, so we didn't kill it. So I have some test code that I've been working on my desktop that I had to just go copy over so I could get to it from my laptop. And apologies for not having screen capture set up, but I will go back and perhaps try to get some post-production screen cap for some of the important stuff. So my intent for this project is to do all of the programming in TinyGo, if at all possible, instead of C, because I am abysmal at C and I do a lot of Go work. Yeah, I write Go for my day job, and I'd rather keep using Go for this if I can. TinyGo looks like it should do everything I want, assuming I can figure out how to make it prod the pins correctly on the Teensy 4.1. It looks like that support for that isn't quite 100% there, but it looks like it's mostly there. It also has some nice libraries for controlling a lot of this hardware, so I don't have to do it myself. Yes, I know that that's available if I would do it in C for Arduino land, but again, I prefer to not have to do that if I can help it. What I have is a test program that is basically the blinky light program, but I changed it so it doesn't blink at a steady state. So instead of blink, 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 it's like blink, 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 something like that, or maybe it's the other way around, I'm not entirely sure. While that is very slowly installing, I'm going to fish out the breadboard, because that is kind of the point of this. if I can take this and slot it into the breadboard, that will make connecting stuff to it to prototype much easier. Well, if it's going in enough to make contact, which, I don't think it was. Can I pull this out now? Is that really went in there? Okay. It's a very, very grippy breadboard. Okay. Hopefully I don't need to pull the teensy out of here very often because I'm slightly scared to do that. So, breadboard here. Let's get some of those breadboarding wires. So where are some of the shorter cables that we have here? So we're going to need to connect, let's see, 3V3 or 3 volts to positive rail, so we can have a positive rail going down here, and there's also an ability to have a rail on the other side. So let's go ahead and plug over here. We also have several different ground pins that we can work with to plug into the grounding rails on the breadboard. So let's go ahead and do that. Now the next order of business, because I have not plugged this into the computer yet, hopefully we get useful drivers. YOLO, I guess. Let's just try Tiny Go Flash Target Teensy41. I suspect it's not going to work right off the bat here, and I have to do some button pushing. Teensy Loader CLI executable file not found in path. Or that could happen. I know I have Teensy Duino installed. Does that not include it? So where the hell is Teensy Loader? To the Googles. Do I really have to compile this? You don't have a... Oh my god, there's no Windows file download binary that I can just... It's really annoying. Alright, fine. Copy, give me a CMD, and then give me a Ming W64. Git clone shift function delete. I hate this keyboard sometimes. CD Teensy Loader CLI Vim make file. Oh, I don't have Vim. VI make file. Oh, I don't have that. Notepad make file. At least that worked, because, you know, Windows. Alright, OS is Windows. Save it. Fucking YOLO make. It didn't compile anything. Okay, this is getting to be a little bit too much of a pain in the ass right now that I want to worry about tonight. Okay, so I just press the button and it immediately goes into program mode. That's actually handy. Oh, it wants hex files? I don't want hex files. I want to give you an ELF. I just want an exe file because I'm too lazy to try to figure out why it doesn't want to compile. Because I do not like C. Here, something. Let's see what this does. Okay, this supports ELF files. So let's just see what this does. Oh, it says it's only compatible with TC 4.0. Interesting. Did I fuck up my TinyGo build? No! So TinyGo is not properly supporting TC 4.1. I think, is what that tells me. Well, that is moderately annoying, because that means that none of the code that I have currently written will work on this. TinyGo seems to not be compiling for TC 4.1 even though I'm telling it to. So it might not properly support that. I also can't find the specific loader that TinyGo wants to use to flash, at least in a binary. And it doesn't want to immediately compile, and I don't want to mess with C right now. It's getting too late for me to worry about that. Okay, this is building. I don't know what this is going to do. Like, I don't know what the pinout this thing expects to have. Okay, success. Upload? I guess that did something. The LED is now dim instead of just solidly lit. So clearly it programmed. I just don't know what I'm supposed to have connected where. This is just somebody else's code for a Protogen head, and I don't know what exactly this is expecting. Can I go to definition? Okay, that will open a file. I may have to just sit down and mess around with software for a while to just try to get it to work. Once I know that I can program it, I can just continue this. But for right now, I am concerned. Okay, so I've made a little bit of progress here. I'm still using the software that this other person wrote. I have it here. It's what is the name? Colicant 1. I'll put a link down below. But yeah, they have some code for Protogen head type stuff that runs on a TNC and uses this shield that I bought from Adafruit as well. That I briefly mentioned earlier, and I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to use it or what it was going to be for, how to use it, but now I've kind of figured it out. So it turns out that this would have been a lot better if I would have put the pin headers the other direction on the TNC, pointing up instead of pointing down, but then I wouldn't be able to use it in the breadboard, because this thing is supposed to stack on top of it with the pin headers pointing up. So to work around that, I did some pretty jank stuff. I'm going to take the camera handheld for a moment. So apologies for shaky cam and any audio issues. So, come on, focus. There we go. So the TNC is still on the breadboard, but to be able to get this to connect correctly, I had to build a jank little rig here using some pin headers directly into the breadboard, male pin headers, with upside down female pin headers on top of them, which then plug into those receptacles on the shield. And then the shield is cabled from it to the LED module, and the LED module is cabled over to the other one in series, as one might expect. So, I've got it all hooked up. TNC's plugged in the computer and getting power. The light is still on dimly like it was earlier. And I already know what's going to happen here because I already tested it. But I've got the LED panels hooked up to the bench power supply for right now, because that's the way I can power them easily. It's at the 5 volt 1 amp maximum, and when I turn the power on, look at that. The code is running and it's outputting to the panels, and yes, these are RGB panels, so it's working. Now that I have some code on here and some signs of life out of this, I know I can program it. I know the TNC is working, I know the shield's working, I know these panels are working. That's great. I could probably plug even more stuff into this, because some of the sensors I got for this are the sensors this guy used, so I should be able to get like more of the stuff hooked up, but I don't know how much more of that I'm going to do tonight. It's already after 11. So I probably should be getting to bed here soon, but yeah, look at that. So you can imagine how this would look in a head. It'd be like kind of like that inside of the shield, the visor. That's what they're called. And yeah, this code is pretty cool. Not what I want to be running long term, but at least I know it's working. And I have a baseline. If I ever need to go back to this code to validate that this stuff is working, I can do that. I'm sure this thing has like a menu and stuff. Well, I know this thing has a menu and stuff, but I don't know how to get into it right now. So I will be poking around with this, maybe hook up some more sensors. Okay, one last update before I go to bed. I'm only going to have the one camera angle for this one, and I need to hold this screen so you can see it. I dug into this code a little bit and figured out how its menu works, and hooked up a button to the pin that it needs to be, which is pin 20. So if I press the button, if I hold the button, it loads its menu. So I can adjust the brightness by pressing the button, and if you hold the button, it'll advance to the next menu item. I don't have the microphone or the boop sensor hooked up yet, because those require soldering, and I don't want to solder anything else tonight. I'm not sure what spec is. I haven't figured that out yet. Size doesn't really seem to do anything either, and neither does color. So I'm not sure what's going on with those, but hey, I figured out the menu and the button. So yeah, not a bad first night of messing this stuff out, but I'm definitely heading to bed now because it's 11:30. Very productive night, got everything out. I needed to do a little bit more organizing. Clearly the hardware all works, that's great. I was, it shouldn't be a surprise that everything works, but it helps to test. I'm glad that I got some code running on here, even if it isn't my own code, because I'm having some toolchain issues. But I hope I can figure that out over this weekend. But yeah, code working on here. All the making sure that these panels worked was definitely something I wanted to do tonight. They look gorgeous. That is a lot of awesome stuff on here. So yeah, I can't wait to work on some of my own code, but top priority for this weekend is figure out my toolchain issues so I can get my code on here. Thanks for sticking through to the end of part 2 of this series, which is going to be an unknown number of parts. It's probably going to be several months before I'm done with this for sure. Thanks for sticking around. Hit that subscribe button if you want to be notified of further future videos in this series. Yeah. Good night.